Hey guys, what's up? It's Rancor the Destroyer, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Rancor from the Jabba's Rancor Pit Battle Pack. This, of course, was a Toys R Us exclusive, and a really cool figure. But before we take a closer look at him, let's go ahead and take a look at its packaging. And bear with me because everything in this video is so large, it's hard to get in frame. Here is the packaging here. It is absolutely enormous, so anybody who plans to keep this in the packaging is going to have a hard time finding a place to put it. But inside there, you can see that it's set up like the cave, and all of the figures would have been displayed in there. On the side here, nothing much. On the back, it's got a picture of the Rancor. Up at the top there's a description, but it looks like I'm not going to be able to get it in frame. So we'll just go ahead and take a look at the bottom, which is really the only interesting part here. So if you notice, it says includes Jabba the Hutt, Rancor, Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker, Gamorrean Guard, and Hookah Pipe. Now, if you've been keeping up with the other reviews that I've been doing, you'll know that this pack also comes with C-3PO. So it's strange to me that they are advertising a Hookah Pipe coming with this pack and not C-3PO, seeing as one comes with the pack and one doesn't. So that's just kind of interesting. I don't know, just kind of side note about the packaging. I have a feeling maybe at one point C-3PO wasn't scheduled to come out with this battle pack, and then maybe they changed it up at some point. Who knows? Just something that's kind of interesting. But anyway, let's go ahead and get back to the figure itself here. So it stands, well, it's more than a foot deep. It's with its arms and everything. It's really big, and it stands, at least how I have it posed, about 10.5 inches tall. So it's got some really good size, and then of course it's again how I have it posed, about 10 inches across. Now, I really like the animals of Star Wars, and I especially like the Rancor, so I'll try and remain kind of non-biased and point out some of the flaws that there are with this figure, and there are flaws. Let's go ahead and start out with the articulation. It's got a hinged jaw, which looks really cool when you open it up. It's got a little tongue in there, which is cool, and then whenever it's closed, of course, you can't tell really that it's hinged. The articulation is fairly well hidden. It's got a swivel here at the head. It does have an actual metal loop for an earring, which is really cool. That was on the original release of this figure. It's got kind of some strange articulation at the shoulders. I'm not really sure what it is. It feels like maybe a giant ball peg, but it's kind of ratcheted, so I also don't know. This was one of the complaints that a lot of people had about this figure when it originally came out, is that it's kind of difficult to pose. The arms are so heavy that it's hard to keep them in a position where you want without just tipping the entire figure over. It can be done, as you can see here, but you'll always need at least one arm on the ground for support. It has a cut joint here at the upper arm, and as you can see, the weight of the arm is pulling the joint apart just a little bit. It's not a huge deal, but it's just something to point out. It has a swivel here on this hand, and then the fingers are not articulated, which is unfortunate. On this arm here, the articulation for the shoulder and for the bicep is the same, but on this one the joint doesn't pull apart, so I'm not really sure what the difference is. He again has a swivel here, and this part is a separate piece so you can rotate it, and again it's got actual metal chain here, which again is really cool. So on this side he's got an open hand, and it does have bendy wire in it so you can kind of pose the fingers. I'm not a huge fan of bendy wire on figures like this, especially when these fingers are large enough to have actually put hinges in. So I kind of wish that they had done actual joints on both hands. But again, it's not a huge deal because this figure was made quite a while ago. One thing I will say too is that the hands or the fingers are so thick that sometimes it's hard to get a nice bend in the finger without it. It kind of wants to pull open just a little bit, which is also kind of a problem. Now, while I have it up close to the camera here, I do want to mention some problems that I have with paint. So as you can see here, this is super glossy and this is flat. I'm not really sure why they did that. That's not accurate as far as I'm aware. So I wish they had gone with all shiny or all flat. I don't like the kind of mixed paint job because it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it's the whole, basically the whole upper arm is glossy. As you can see here, this is glossy and then this is matte, which looks just odd. And then they've also done this dry brushing, which as you can see, like on the feet, is really heavy, and throughout the figure just isn't super consistent. So just some kind of weird paint schemes going on with the figure. But back to articulation, it's got a hinge here at the hip, and then a gigantic ball hinge here at the ankle, which is really cool. And of course that does swivel. So you're probably hearing a lot of complaints about this figure, and yeah, there are quite a few problems with it. But overall, I think that it's a really, really cool looking figure. When you've got it posed on your shelf, you're not necessarily going to notice all of those problems right off the bat. And I do think that this was meant as a display piece, and I think it definitely serves that purpose. As far as paying the original price for this battle pack, it's definitely not worth it. $150 for these figures, especially with this one being a re-release, and I think almost all of them being re-releases. It just doesn't work out. But if you can get it on a clearance price, it's definitely worth picking up because you cannot find the original Rancor figure or any of the original Rancor figures for a reasonable price. So this is a great opportunity to do that. One thing that I will say at the end of this is that I hope they will do a 6-inch scale Rancor figure release. This, like I said, this is one of my favorite animals from Star Wars, so I definitely hope that they do that in the future. But anyway, if you have any comments or questions, please leave it down in the comments section below, and I guess I'll see you later.